Yeah.
On on behalf of OSDS, we'd like to welcome everybody out. Um, Bryan, I tried to Google you today,
Yeah.
and there's another Bryan White in Ireland that runs sheepdogs,
That's right. Yep.
and he kept coming up. So I was having trouble finding out about, but having trouble finding you on the internet. One of the first things I ever heard about you was um, your accomplishment of Rookie of the Year at Nationals. Um, can you tell us what else you done?
Um, well, I've, I mean, just in a nutshell, I've qualified for, I call them the big four, um, uh, national finals, bluegrass, Meeker, and Soldier Hollow. I've qualified for all those double lifts multiple times. Um, um, had some decent placements in Meeker a few times. So as far as the big four, that's what I've done in that. Haven't won one yet. Um, but I'll keep throwing a dart, see if I can land one in there one day. Um and just a lot of won some trials for sure. And my goal is always the top. If I figure I'm in the top 10% pretty consistently, I feel pretty good about that. To me, it shows consistency and you know, sometimes we can, get a win and then not do anything for 10 trials. To me, it's more about trying to be consistent, especially if you're trying to be consistent to put two runs together to make it into a double lift. You usually have to put two good runs together to qualify. So that would be my goal with that. Yeah, so that's kind of, I feel funny telling people all my or anything I've done, but that's there. Yeah.
Okay. So
But
what?
I understand why you asked. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, and like Rookie of the Year though, like even if we didn't look at the other stuff, Rookie of the Year is not anything to sneeze at either, right?
No, rookie of the year. I'll just tell a brief story about that, just real quick. I went to the finals with my first dog, Scoop. Um, when he was 3 years old, I qualified halfway through the season. I moved him up to open, and I qualified about 2 weeks out. Some people had dropped out. I had like 17 points or something like that. And they called me and said, "Do you want the spot?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I want the experience. I want to go and experience it." I didn't have, I thought if I made the semifinals, I'd be really happy. I feel like, God, that's pretty big. So, anyways, I took him there and I was just talking about this actually. Um, uh, he, he was probably not on whistles maybe 6 months before that. Like I was always just kind of pushing the envelope because if I push myself, when I push myself, I get out of my comfort zone, then I learn. But anyways, we went there and I just barely made it to the semifinals, and then I just barely made it into the double lift. My first, not even full year of open with my first dog, and I'm not taking credit for a lot of that. He was natural in a lot of ways, but I was smart enough to kind of let him be natural. Maybe not smart enough. I don't know. Debatable there. But anyways, we just barely made it, and he didn't even have a real turn back on him. And so, I mean, so anyways, that's how the story went, and I got Rookie of the Year for
Oh,
that. Yeah.
well, smart enough or not smart enough. I think that's what makes a lot of those first dogs is we allow them to work. Well, and sometimes
Yeah,
smart doesn't always help us.
exactly. That's true.
What got you interested in working stock dogs, sheep dogs?
Um, I well, I'm kind of a lifelong surfer. I surfed most of my life until, well, even after I started doing the dogs for a while. But um, I rescued I don't know what he was. He kind of looked like a border collie, and someone said he was a McNabb, maybe. Anyways, I rescued him to be a pet, and someone said the lady said he needs a job, And I'm like, I'm like, okay, like at McDonald's or something? What are you talking about? I don't understand. She said, no, he's a stock dog, you know, a sheep or cattle. I'm like, oh, I said, I didn't know nothing about it. So I took him for an instinct test and he showed some interest, but yeah, that's he kind of then I went to a trial. It was actually an AKC trial, and I saw a couple border collies, and I went, "Whoa, boy!" Mine was like driving an old truck, and these were like Ferraris. I was like, "Oh, I got to get one of those," and I bought my first dog Scoop off the internet, off a video on the internet, and that was the big hubbub at the finals because back then they were doing some live stuff, and people were asking questions. They're like, "Where'd you get that dog?" And I just said, "I bought him off the internet." And they're like, "What?" You know how people are, I'm going to breed this dog to that dog and do, you know, so that's kind of a funny story. But anyways, yeah, that's I just simply someone said go see if he has instinct, and that's how it started.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Um, well, with that, I'm just going to do a little bit um, of the people that are here. It's like there's 20 of us here right now. Um, Feel free in the question and answer section Q&A. If you have questions, as Bryan's going through, um, write down this question. He'll be going through things that are important to him, and you might notice things that you might have questions for him about. And that's what this is all about: is a chance to learn and see in as real time as we can without all being there together. So question and answer is where if you have questions during it, feel free to write them in and I'll try to get them to Bryan as we're going through this.
Yeah. Cool.
With that being said, let's shut me out and listen to the man that we all came here to listen to.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna read a question that got sent ahead of time um, from Brianna Henderson. And she asks, what are some methods for improving your dog's listening skills at distance? And I guess before I really go much further with this, um, I'm the reason I wanted to, this is the first time I don't know if OSDS has done the video thing and looking at videos, but I thought I want to be able to look at something and be able to comment on that instead of just being what's the word I'm looking for? Just nebulous about, you know, someone saying, well, I'm having a problem with my dog's not opening up on this flank. And if I can't see that or see how the dog's behaving or how you're interacting, it's really hard to get really to the nitty gritty of that. So I guess, you know, there'll be a lot of generalizations in that respect to your dogs because and that gives me an opportunity to plug, you know, I do clinics and lessons, and a lot of the stuff that I have learned personally um, has come from my mentor. One of my main mentors is the McRae's, Alistair and Patricia, and I've learned a lot from them, and they can also be a great tool for people as far as they have the McRae way, and they do video lessons. But anyways, I just thought I would plug that stuff. I have clinics coming this spring, but there'll be times when I'm going to say, well, I can only give you a general idea that I don't think it's fair to give people something that I can't tangibly see. And for me, that's important because there's a lot of nuances that take place, correct?
Yes.
Um,
So
so,
can I interrupt you for a
yeah,
second, Bryan?
go ahead.
Before you, just since you brought up that you do clinics and lessons and stuff, how's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Since I was having trouble finding you on the internet today.
Yeah, I'm not that popular, I guess. But of course, you might have been doing Bryan with a Y, not an I with that, not a Y. Um,
Well, you got me there. Yes.
yeah, yeah, that's the other Bryan, I think, is IA, I
Yes.
think. But I've had people are you the Bryan? I'm like, no. But anyway, um, Yeah, they can get a private message me through Facebook or I don't really have a website per se, uh,
Okay.
but they can find me on Facebook and private message me. That would probably be the best way, um, unless I'm not thinking of another way.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
would probably be the best way.
So private message on Facebook is the
Yeah,
best way to get a hold of me. Perfect.
yeah,
And
um,
where I cut you off, you were talking
yes,
about the
yeah. So that being said, I'll do the best I can. If I feel like I can't, like, I don't want to, I want to give information, but also some of it you can't apply unless I'm there and show, you know what I'm saying? It's, to me, it's not fair to just say, go, I don't know what your dog's going to do. Maybe your dog, I don't know. So anyways, I just thought I'd give that little caveat. Um, so Brianna Henderson asks, what are some of the methods for improving your dog's listening skills at distance? Well, I would say this on that. I would say um, that I start, well, from right at hand, and I'm very consistent with, if I ask for a lie down, I get my lie down. Um, and this is, and I'm not talking about a young dog or a put, I'm talking about a dog that's, is trained somewhat. If I mean what we ignore is what we encourage. So if I don't make a dog do what it's told to do, and to me it's very black and white. Um, that way there is no gray area. They understand. And we'll get into more of that later, but I would say I start close and then I get it good as 50 yards. I get it like really good, like every time. And then I'll move it out to 100 yards and I'll get it good until it's good every time. Then I'll move it and I'll keep moving it and I'll move it out farther and then I'll bring it back and then I'll make sure it's there still. And if it slips a little out there, I bring it back. And uh, for me, I do it with, I don't want to yell commands like lie down, or here's a kind of the way it goes for some folks, and it used to for me too. It's like lie down, lie down, lie down, lie down. It's like, well, which one is the one? It's usually that last one in the scenario. So for me, I don't correct with the command. I say lie down. And for me, my correction always for not no lie down or not flanking when they're asked to flank is, do you hear lie down? So I tell them, correct them, tell them again. Um, I
and
give
if they don't respond to do you hear?
Then it's if they don't on the next ask again, when I say again, lie down, then I will put pressure on them, go towards them maybe. Um, up the punishment has to fit the crime a bit, right? So I'll put more pressure. But right away when I start training they understand that do you hear me means you better change what you're doing and try something else. And so that starts right away. And it's dog dependent too, like, you know, you've got to like when I get a new dog, I don't want to really hear too much about what the person I want to see what's in front of me and go from there. And I'll take them right back to the beginning. Even if it were an open dog, I'd take it right back to the start, right at hand. I wouldn't start sending it 500 yards and then going off my head trying to get them to stop because I don't think that's fair. And I try to be fair as I can in the training. And so getting back to the distance thing. So if my dog and I always have in my back pocket that do you hear? So if my dog and I'm at a trial and my dog doesn't stop, and that you'll hear people be like, I can scare people sometimes because they're like, what the heck where'd that come? And I'll just say, do you hear? And my dog's like, oh crap, down. Not every time. I'm just saying that's a very good tool to have if you need it. So I start teaching them that right away. And it's different. I don't just lie down, lie down, lie down, lie. Hey, yo, hey. I call that ninja herding. Hey, 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 hey. Like maybe one of those things might stick, but that's not training your dog properly to me. And keeping it very simple and clear communication. And we'll get into that more later watching at some of these videos, but I hope and I'll mix it up. So say my dog's not laying down at 300 yards. Um, I'll take off on my bicycle and take off and meet him up there. Now they start going, what the heck is he going to do? Like then they start listening and looking for you, not listening to you. They're like going, oh, what's he gonna, so you got to get in their head of what's gonna happen next. So I'll mix it up with that sometimes too. I'll just take off running after him, running I can't do that as well anymore. So I get on my bike and I can cover more ground. And they're like, when I send them, I take off and they're like, how'd you get up here? It's like 400 yards and you're meeting me here. So I guess that would be some methods, and it is dog dependent. So I would have to kind of see how the dog is reacting to what we're doing to it. Because if you just took off riding after a dog that doesn't need that much pressure, you don't know what you're going to do to that dog. You may turn it off from wanting to go up there and lift it ever again. So anyway, I hope that answers that a bit. Uh, what kind of eye do you like in dogs since there are so many different types of eye? Um, well, I think eye is interesting. I can't really pinpoint that kind of stuff, but I will tell you what I like to kind of see is I like probably a medium and maybe a little below medium eye, somewhere in there in the right kind of eye. And what I mean by that is I don't like the kind of eye that sucks dogs in to the sheep where they won't flank, and they get sticky. I want them. Some of you may know my dog Bray, and how he has a lot of eye, but he always would release it when you'd ask him to flank. For the most part, I'm not saying every time, but that was one of the things that saved him and made him a decent dog, in my opinion, in my mind, is he would release that eye, turn his head, and go. Now, the ones that won't do that, they can get really sticky and stuck in the pressure and all those things, and you can't. And that's when obedience has to take over. Like, no, I told you, you need to go, and you got to go. So I don't like a lot of eye, and then I don't. I like enough that just gives them a little style, gets their head down, and and they have a little bit of feel. Um, if that makes sense, like say they're flanking around on just flanking around the sheep, and you blow a little steady, and they just go boom, and then the eye kicks in, and they come walking in. That I like that. Now, but as soon as I say come by again, I want it to open up and release the eye and go. So I guess, somewhere medium, um, and not, that eye and that style sometimes is a little bit too much for some sheep. That prey drive and that prey look. Um, so I guess I would say I'd like something that's medium, but just enough style to drop it, make it look kind of stylish.
And are you looking at whether they're holding with that eye or pushing with that eye?
What, say that again?
Are you looking at whether they're holding with that eye or pushing with the eye?
Um, yeah, I don't like some, and that's the tricky thing with eye. Sometimes they'll hold on to the sheep with that eye, and sometimes they won't, or sometimes they'll bore in with that eye with no feel. Just because they have eye, it to me doesn't always mean they have feel.
Right.
Um, you know what I'm saying? So, um,
So when you,
Bray Bray was a little nice mixture of that kind of, because sometimes he would hold on in a way like if you sent him on a silent gather and a fetch, he would lift those sheep nice and fetch them nice, and he would just do little adjustments, kind of just like holding on to them. You know what I mean? I mean, when I see that, I go, "Ooh, I like that," you know. But but um, so the ones that bore, then you have to, as I like to say, if they don't have feel for their sheep, then this is some a little saying I made up. I said, you need to be the feel in the deal sometimes. Like they won't feel that bubble.
And when do you make that evaluation when you're looking at those dogs and how they use their eye, when you're selecting that based on the eye, when do you make the determination that it's boring with that eye or holding with that eye, or whether it's just a young dog hair?
I think I can see it pretty quickly. Yeah. And then I'll start addressing it. You
So
know
if
what I
they
mean?
start out boring with the eye, you don't give them, it's not a, that's just a mistake. You go with, that's just who they are.
Yes, and then I'll teach them how to steady and
Mm.
pace. Yeah. And sometimes it'll change and that opens a whole nother road of sometimes people like when you slow a dog down and actually make it work and with pace and a lot of things change because then they're not running on adrenaline and it's like, no, now we need to see how do you really work or what is your method? But so
But
many people, and that's another thing. I woke up at like midnight last night thinking about all kinds of if I could record it all my thoughts, be brilliant. But anyways, a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this myself, I'll get out, I'll just get my dogs work for 15 minutes and just not even get the adrenaline off of them and put them up. I used to do that a lot. And some dogs you can do it, and some you can't. And so um, I I think when you have a dog that has call it whatever you want, adrenaline, tension, excitability, call it whatever you want. It's not a working state of mind in my mind. So if I have a dog like and I have a couple, I've got to work those dogs for good periods of time, like 45 minutes, an hour at a time. And I don't have real work, so I have to make that up. And that could be done in various ways. But does that kind of answer your question? I don't want to get too bogged. We want to get to videos, but you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
but yeah, because you kind of touched on what I was wondering about, because some of those
Yeah,
dogs that really bore in when they're young,
yeah,
they get a lot of credit for being powerful, and that
yes, and they're
when you get
not.
them pace, they actually don't have much.
Yes,
And
and then
vice versa. Some
yeah,
of those that hold quite a bit as they actually pace, they actually have a lot more than you
yes,
give them credit for.
yes, I agree totally. You gotta, but first you got to find out what's there, and then you
Right.
go, okay, I got to give that back to him a little bit. I can't make this dog that obedient because it'll fall apart on me. So that's the whole, yeah, we could go down that for a while, but let me so that's the question about that. Then would you rather would you rather train and run a dog that has too much feel or too little feel? Specifically when working trialing on range use. Um, I would say again, middle of the road for me. Like some, but not too much. Um, I was able to do okay with Bray, even there's another thing with eye. If you know a dog has some eye, you like, I call it, I don't put him in defensive positions a lot, where meaning in the eye. I keep him out of the eye as best I can of sheep. His whole career, I did that. I just kept him on the hips or behind him. And because that, for him, one would create a fight and just lock that eye up. So I always keep a dog like that free. Um, so I did okay, and there was times when I just couldn't do okay with him. He would maybe get around to that eye two or three times in a run, and I'd be done. I'd be done. I couldn't, it would be over. So I guess I like something less than that. And I like to put my dogs where I want to put them and read my sheep a bit more. And I don't want them getting stuck. I want them to be able to shift sheep no matter what the sheep are. When you don't have a dog that can do that, then it gets more difficult too, also for handling purposes and all those things. So that's just a little bit touching on that. And there's so many. Yeah. I like a dog that wants to kind of stay behind its sheep and tuck the corners, but not too far. And when they start wanting to head too much, then you're in a fight, and then your sheep are in a fight with your dog, and the whole, especially range use. Other farm flock of sheep, you can get away with that stuff. But range use, you want to, if they want to go somewhere, you help them go there. I, I mean, is that, you know what I'm saying?
So you'd almost prefer a dog that lacks a little cover on your range use over a dog that overheads.
Yeah, I just want it to not want, stay in the pocket sometimes when I need it there in the chute, whatever the boot, whatever you want to call it. And, but if it doesn't, it better be obedient so I can keep it from doing that, I guess would be, um, and wearing on 5 sheep is, there's no reason, there's a lot of wasted energy that would happen there, right? Um, Working bunches of sheep, that's a different story. I'm talking about trialing in this instance with what we're doing here, that's what I would say about that. Um, so, um, and then her last question is, are there certain things you do with your dogs as puppies to prepare them for serious training later? I would say I don't have a lot of experience with puppies. I have never done a puppy from uh, 8 weeks on. I've had a couple raised to time they're ready to work. So I can't give you a lot of, I just can't give some that I don't know about, but I will tell you that um, Alistair had told me at one point that, until they're 7 months old, I just kind of let them be puppies and not put too much pressure on them at all. Um, uh, so he said, I've done it both ways. And he said, most of the time, the ones that I was putting a little too much, whatever, even off a sheet, um, they didn't turn out. He said, almost without fail, the ones that I waited turned out as herding dogs to some degree. I'm not saying a world beater. And I thought that was quite interesting. Um, but I don't have the experience to really. But the young dogs, I have trained them when they're ready to train. And I would say, I just try to give them what they, you know, ask for things and set them up for success. Don't ask for lie downs in the beginning when they're not on balance. Things like that, just make it very simple for them and start teaching them right away. You can take a lie down and you can take a correction, and it's not the end of the world. You're going to be corrected for things, and you're going to have to be able to know how to take them. So I guess just hitting that on that a little bit, I could go more on and on about that. But any questions from anybody about it? Any of that? Did you see, Dave? Or
Nobody's asked any questions.
okay. Um, so I would say that was the only just write-in question. I would say let's run that the first one, Melanie Barron's one, I think, Maureen.
Okay.
I didn't know you were talking. There you are. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we see her face? You're not answering that. I know. All right. This is some a gal sent this video in. Is this the just the short ones, right, Lorene?
Yep.
Okay. There's her dog coming around on the come by. I don't see the sheep quite yet. There they are. So stop it there. So so just right off the top, she well, the very first stop she asked for, it kind of slowed up and it sat down. Now, some people are okay with that. That's fine. But for me, I want you to lie down, then lie down. You need to lie down. So in that instance, I would have been like, do you hear? Lie down. Um, but that's how I train and that's the method I use. But see, she asked for a few steadies right there, and he never changed his trot. I mean, he was loping actually. And then she asked for another lie down, didn't get it, and then started whatever she said there was her correction of some sorts. But so keep rolling it. There's two, there's three, there's four. And see all the different things she's using. Listen. So are you stopped there?
Ah, that's the end. Yeah.
Okay. But see right there, it's not clear communication. I call it the three C's, clear, consistent communication. She's saying listen sometimes she's asking four times. Like I can tell you this whole thing in this whole game, if if you aren't consistency, like you can think, I'm gonna go to this clinic and I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna get the magic thing. There is no magic thing. There is consistency is where the magic is. The consistency in what we ask for and what we get. It's like that irritating thing I always say, what we ignore is what we encourage. And that is not the dog's fault. That's our fault every time. So when I hear people, well, my dog, I'm like, well, you aren't even holding up 25% of your side. So you might want to check your own house first. And that's how that's how I see. I mean, I'm not mean, but I'm like, you got to be consistent. So any questions on that little bit? I just kind of wanted to show in that video that if we don't, that dog to me just seemed like he didn't know. He was just like, I'm not sure. And I'm not picking on, I know this gal, I'm not picking on her, you know, I'm just, I'm pointing out the things that I would be working on, like, and I would get it closer at hand. I wouldn't have them that far away.
So Jody asked, your correction word can be anything we want to use. We just need to stay with the same word.
The same word every time. Because that's clear. That's not 1 minute. It's listen, do you hear me? What are you doing? God darn it, knock that off. You know what I mean? That's like if you're having a conversation with somebody, you we're pretty clear when we're talking to people. Well, we try to be. It seems like when with the dogs, that all goes out the window. And we're just hoping the spaghetti sticks to the wall. So yeah, that's just, and like I said, these are all my opinion. This is all what I would do. It's not
So,
the
so a word versus a growl or a scold, you look at that differently.
no. If you're going to use this growl, then use it all the time. You know what I mean? I mean, you just that it's not so much, it's the consistency of what the correct, I just think that when you correct them with lie down as the word, yelling it louder, they just start to tune that out. When does that mean lie down? And to me, it's much fairer to be this way. And we'll get into some other things that, yeah, but any more questions on that one?
Sarah has her hand up.
Hi, Sarah.
I don't know how to give her permission to ask a question unless, oh, maybe she wrote it here for us. No, she didn't. Sarah, can you write your question in the question and answer section? Oh,
No?
yeah, she did.
Okay.
She didn't mean to put up her hand.
Oh, all right. You can ask questions, people. Ask questions. That's what it's for.
That was maybe a hallelujah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's roll that other one of this, the same dog, Melanie.
Oh, okay.
Is that right from the start?
The clip you wanted, yes.
Are you sure? Because I thought I had a little more before that.
I can do the other one. Hold on.
I only took little parts of these videos, and when we do the handling one, we did this training one first so that I could refer back to what I was saying about training issues, which will help with our handling. So you folks need to send in some runs of trials and when you're handling so that you can get some help with those. All right. Yeah, I think this is better. Yeah. You asked for a way to me there. You asked for a way to me there. Didn't get anything. You finally said, "What are you doing?" in a way to me. And this tells me a few things. Go ahead and stop. This tells me a few things. The dog may not know its whistles very well. One. And two, um, there should be the ask for the way to me with a whistle, and whistles, talking, whatever, doesn't matter. Ask for it, and then it should have been right there, a correction. Do you hear? Way to me. Not yell it louder, not, you know what I mean? Just, and also I found with one of my dogs recently that I thought he was dyslexic because half the time he was taking the wrong flanks, and he has some tension and his mind is going. And I all I did is I would ask for the flank. If he was wrong, it was lie down. I'd let him sit there, one, two. Then I would ask again, and he started taking the flanks correctly. Then I stopped waiting that 2 seconds after a couple months, and now he's fine. He's taken every flank. It's just giving them that 2 seconds to just, they're locked in. Take their feet away and ask again. Take their feet away because he's this dog I can tell has some eye and he's boring it. Like, take his feet away, correct him, and ask again. But she just kept asking, and he kept So right there, that's a training thing. You need to train. You can't get to a trial and hope he takes that flank. So does that make sense? I hope it does.
Yeah.
But that was a good example. Go ahead.
So then with that, Ashley Smith asked, with a young dog, what do you look for the criteria between asking for that flank on the fly versus asking for after a stop?
Yeah, I would ask while you're training and it's young, stop. stop it first and then ask.
And what's your criteria for when you wouldn't ask for the stop first, where you just expect them to do it on the fly?
First, I would get it. I would test it. If they're doing that, then I would stop them. And then try it the next, you know what I mean? Like, because it didn't take that blank, you've corrected it and told it to go. Then, somewhere in the training down, ask for it again on the fly, see if it takes it. If it doesn't, same thing. Back to training mode and correction. And we'll get into some of that stuff. Like I do a lot. So little flanks and pace when dog trials. Little, 2 foot flanks. Way to me, steady. Way to come by, steady. Little flanks, not take. My goal is to always run a dog on its feet in contact with the sheep, is what I'm shooting for. But that's not always possible either. But so I practice little flanks and pace, little flanks, pace, little flanks, steady, little flanks, steady. But this dog's not quite ready for that. In my opinion, I don't, I think it's a little bit of doesn't know its whistles and its eye. There's several things going on there. I mean, I can't say definite. I'd have to see the dog some more.
So then that kind of goes into Jody's question. She's talking about the position, and I'm going to paraphrase this one for her. But she's talking about the position the handler's in,
Yeah.
and wondering if the handler should be maybe more off to the side, not behind, where the dog can see her to help enforce that.
Yes. So I would be driving in a circle where my dog can always see me. To me, and I watched more of this video too, in the driving, this dog doesn't really understand driving. So you're fighting that too. But also when you're a dog you should never be yelling at a dog too much from behind them when they're driving ever, if you can help it. So you need to get in a position of influence. I used to call it pop, position of power, but people are saying that sounds a little too harsh. I'm like, well, whatever. But a position of influence to where you can influence that flank. What she's doing is she's trying to run a course here. If we did, she went around the post and those panels and she was turning and cross driving. But I just picked out the part of the fighting with the flank but that is true. You want to teach your dog how to take sheep somewhere. And people start getting the cart for the horse sometimes. I've noticed in my clinics and stuff that they start wanting to drive and their dogs aren't even solid on their flanks. And and that makes it a little tough because then you start yelling because it didn't take a flank and doesn't know them and first walk with them, get their flanks solid first before I start driving. I want some verbal solid flanks, maybe not whistles, but verbals. And then I'll just be in a triangle, dog, sheep, me, in a triangle, boom, 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 where that dog, she can see me and gives them some support until they start, and then I start backing out as they start to go, oh yeah, I get it, I got it. So I get does that answer? Or yeah, that is true. You want to be in a position where they can see, and you can be in a position to influence them until they understand what driving actually is.
Okay. Then home asks that driving in that circle, they're asking if you would do that in a round pen.
No, I would be doing that. I mean, you could, but I do it. Well, you want to be able to flank to the other side of the sheep too, not just the inside of the sheep. So I would say no. I would say I would want them in an area that there's room for the dog to get around the sheep and whatnot. But
so even though it is an exercise you might be able to do in a round pen, you wouldn't probably.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Personally, I get out of the round pen. Not, and I'll go back to the round pen sometimes, depending on what my issues are and da da da. But but I try to get out of there and give the dog move to room. As soon as I have a solid lie down and call off, I mean solid, and then I'll get out of the round pen and start, could be a bit decent sized paddock. It doesn't have to be a huge area.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm going to bring one up as we're talking that driving that circle. Then why a circle, not a square?
When I'm driving in a circle, it's more to keep them on the circle. I want to keep the dogs on this circle. It's more little flanks and pace, and it starts very close to me. But then as they get more proficient, the circle gets bigger. It's basically kind of the same. I mean, the square. I would use the square more on a dog that I want to flank square, because then I'm cognizant of it when I turn that corner. If that dog's a very direct dog, I want to be able to get him out and stop him there. But um, yeah, without going into too much of it in some of my other little things, it isn't, but it is kind of a big because the point is to keep them on a circle. You need little flanks and pace, little, very little, like, and not square. They're just in contact the whole time, and you can do that in the straightaways on the square too, for sure. But you have to be a little. They have to be a little more. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Flexible to stay
Nuance.
on that circle. Yeah.
So we have a couple questions. If I'm not cutting you off, one goes back a little bit. Nancy Burrows,
Uh-huh.
when I ask for a lie down, I ask once and then I yell, hey, if she doesn't lie down. I've noticed that she's starting to wait for the hey before she lies down. Should I change my correction word?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, you could maybe, when you don't get the after the hay, apply pressure, like go towards her more. But that's the problem with part of the problem with doing that. But once the idea is to get them to do it on the ask the first time. So, yeah, you might change it up by walking towards her, doing that too. Then go back to it, mix it up. Sometimes you got to think outside the box, you know. I mean, I just know that for me, it works for me. And the goal also is, when that being said, the starting very early on, to do this stuff early on, because then they start to understand it more. But it's almost like getting a horse to be soft to your hands and be soft in their mouth and soft to your leg. It's like you want to get these dogs soft to your commands, to where it's like all you got to do is whisper, lie down, you know? And I don't, the way that you can't do that, but just lie down, lie down, lie down, lie down, you know? It just, there's got to be a correction for it. And I would mix it up if I were Nancy. I'd maybe, when she doesn't lie down, go through those sheep. And hey, I told you lie down, knock that off. Put
So,
a little different twist on it.
so what I'm hearing then is rather than changing her word, she should be changing her approach and
Yes.
make that more variable.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, do you want another one that came up, and then we're done with those questions, or
Another video. Yeah, let's do hold on, let me see here. I didn't print out the list, but I have it here. Hold on one second.
when is Lorene's queuing that up? Liz Sending has a question that I'll ask as we're waiting them.
All right.
When you give Liz when you give Lorene her information.
Right. Um, let's do the let's do the well, we could do the Jody Luke #1 stops. Was Liz's?
So, so Liz's question was, she wants you to describe the type of sheep you like for training.
Yes, I'm looking for personally, and it dependent, if you're just training a dog that's farther along, not a puppy young one, I would want puppy, pretty good broke sheep that aren't too crazy. And as they advance, then they can be lighter. But I want the lightest sheep I can find and teach my dog how to walk those sheep around. Um, they break quick, like my sheep break quick because I don't let my dogs chase. They don't chase sheep. Um, and when you come to clinics and stuff, I'm looking to be like, hey, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I want to see those sheep walking. And so, and if a dog is wrong at all on sheep that are light like that, they will be exposed. And I'm not talking crazy light, like they just want to run over a dog back to the barn. They're done by that. For me, I'm getting different sheep, but it is very important, the sheep, and I was hoping somebody would chime in. I was probably going to get to that somewhere along here, but the sheep are really important for setting your dog up for successes. There was actually a video that I didn't put on here, but of shedding, and the sheep were just wrapping around the lady, and they tried it probably 5, 6 times and finally got the shed. And meanwhile, that dog failed 5 times, and that to me is no good. Like, so I'd rather not shed at all. Go find somewhere where that you can get on sheep, get a bigger group that'll stay apart. Doesn't have to be 5, but set them up for success through the sheep as best you can. And I understand that's not easy. Not everybody can do that. I get it. But be cognizant. Don't set them up for failure over and over. But good sheep, light sheep is what I'm looking for. So I teach my dog how to walk those sheep. And that means they got to walk and work those sheep, not adrenaline, not chase, none of that. So there. Does that answer that? I hope.
So, I guess the other part of that could go into types, as far as breeds or range type versus valley type. No preference on that, just as long as they're
Um,
and
for
willing
me,
to.
yeah, for me, like when uh, I get, I get Katahdins usually from a gal, and they're usually, it's hit and miss with those. Sometimes they can be good, sometimes not. It's interesting. I don't know why that always is, but that's the way it is. But um, yeah, I like the lightest, and I found that the Katahdins stay lighter longer. But uh, I have some wool. Uh, I don't, there's some kind of cross. I've got some lambs, and they're pretty decent when you start, but they do break a lot quicker. But then I'm not saying don't ever put my dogs on those sheets. They got to learn to deal with those too. And I would love, and I probably will in the spring, get 20 or 30 range ewes, and they'll last maybe 2, 3 weeks. Depends. I mark some and I work those until they start getting broken. Then I'll use another batch. But and those are good for a dog too, because they'll tell a dog when it's wrong also in a different way. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, when you're trying to open flanks and stuff like that, and lie downs, like if you have sheep that are really heavy, that dog doesn't want to lie down readily. It's just got them moving. They're hard to move. And open a flank when a dog's 2 feet from, you're not going to do it. So I guess, I mean, there's a road that we can go down about all that, but that in a nutshell
Perfect.
is yeah.
Lorene has the video queued up for
Yes. Go ahead, Lorene. You're doing a good job, by the way, Lorene. So back up right to the start. Here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So And that I just chose that video just for that alone. That little
Lie down.
um, see right there, that dog got in the bubble. Keep rolling.
Wait. Up.
It was too late, and the sheep and see that
Wait.
one bump way
Wait.
back over there.
Yeah.
No, they never
Lie down.
slowed.
Too hard. Too hard.
Okay, stop. Um, that lie down, that I was just an example of some dogs might get away with that if they're not real, you know, forward, lots of presence. They might get away with that, but this dog can't. So there I would have asked, corrected, asked again, and just stay with it. And just stay with it till that dog's lying down better.
So you're talking right at this point here where they make that turn is where you're talking, or are you talking
No,
on
right
that
at the
part when
start.
they're at the very first?
Yeah, go back to the start, Lorene, please.
That 4-step lie down.
Yeah, right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. That's not good enough. And then right here, she should have steadied
Lie
right
down.
now. But just 2 seconds,
Wait. Up.
either took his feet away or asked for a steady. And look at the
Wait.
sheep are still running
Wait. Now.
because
Lie down. Too hard. Too hard.
that's just a little example on
There.
being the
Lie
feel
down.
and the deal
Feel
I
fast.
talked about
So then my
until
evil,
the dog starts to feel that itself, if it will.
side, when you're talking about
Lie-
taking
lie
the
down.
away,
What's that?
when you're talking about taking the speed away in that instance where you have a half a step to make that change, and
Yeah.
probably a little more if we're watching a little closer, but
Yeah.
if he's doing a 5-step lay down, 6-step lay down, how do you take his speed away in time for it to make a difference for him?
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. You didn't get it when you asked for it, right?
Right.
Then you got to go. Then you got to go, oh God. So I know my dog's going to take 5 steps, so I better ask way back here. Well, that's kind of the dog wagging the, you know, that's like he's driving the bus, not you. He's in charge and you're changing, and I don't mind changing to a dog. But that 5 steps there, you saw what it did and when it got too close to him there. If he takes 5 there, for sure those sheep are gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And watching the sheep and your dog and knowing when that, don't let them get to that point. Like keep them just on the edge of that bubble, and that's timing and handling. You can't blame the dog. If the dog doesn't have that in them, you have to make that happen as a handler, in my opinion. And timing isn't everything, it's the only thing. It's timing is something you have to keep doing and experiencing to get better at it. I can't, like all the stuff I've learned is from out there doing it and doing it consistently. So any questions on any of that? But I wanted to show that, that a lie down that's unacceptable. They should lie down pretty quick. And you'll find that these longer dogs like him, he's a big dog, they don't stop as well. So when you're starting them, you need to get right away what lie down is and when, because they aren't built to really lie down like that. It's in my opinion, they're just big dogs. Does that make sense? So you need to be on that right away. All right. Any questions on that one?
So just as what you were working on in there, you were working actually on her timing. So you kind of assumed that she knew how to work on her lie down. You kind of were letting that go to work on her timing.
Yeah, no, I wanted to work. When I'm doing that, I'm working on all of it. If you know what I mean, not just one piece. And that brings up another good point too, Dave, is when I go out to work my dogs, and train them, it's with a purpose. There's always a purpose to what I'm doing. Otherwise, you're just exercising your dog. Now, a purpose may be I'm just going to go out and do a walkabout, get my dog to balance because maybe at trials it's not balancing well. I need to put, balance fuels this whole thing, period. And if you make them so obedient that they won't ever balance, you've gone too far. And that's a whole that's a whole nother thing we could talk about. I could talk about that for hours, but a lot of these things I can, as some people know me know, I probably talk too long about them. But um, but there's always a purpose, and I will actually write down on a whiteboard what I'm going out to work on each, and so it's fresh. My weaknesses in my dogs is what I'm going to work on, not what they're good at.
So that question, I was kind of paraphrasing it, but it was from Sarah Vining. And she was wondering if what you're actually working on was pace, but what you're saying is you're working on all of it.
Yeah, yeah. That video was just to show a not good lie down. That's all I really took that for. But then when I saw the dog get in the bubble and push him, I couldn't help myself to say something about that too. But yeah, I'm looking at the whole thing. And one of the problems is a lot of people, and I've run into it too until I understood more, is people say, you need to watch your sheep. These people aren't saying that's all you watch. You watch the dog in relation to the sheep, everything going on and reacting to all of that, not just one. You can't just watch those sheep. Your dog, you can watch them more, the more obedient your dog is. When you tell it to do something, it does it. Then you can have the freedom to watch your sheep more. But most people don't have their dogs, and I hate the word broke, trained, whatever you want to call it, to where they can watch their sheep more. Does that make sense? It should.
That's for sure.
That answer, I think no, I wasn't, but we're going to address that in a couple of these other videos. Moving on, so we'll move on to, let's do any more questions? Sorry, Dave.
Well, we have one other question that's come up, but it doesn't have to do with what we've gone through yet. So I may just hold that back from you for a bit.
All right. So let's do, okay, well, let's just go ahead and do the next Jody loot number 2 one. Just watch it here real quick. So that's all I wanted to show in that video. So start it again. Right there, she says, lie down. Let's watch it again. It's like lagging for some reason. See that? Okay, she says lie down, doesn't get her lie down, corrects him. You listen, never got the lie down, and then flanked him. Now, that to me is very confusing communication. I'll tell you just a little story. I used to do a bit. I do that at a trial, and I'm not saying you aren't going to do it at a trial. You do what you got to do to hit the panels and make your lines at a trial, but you do not train like that, because that says, what does that tell him? Don't lie down. That's what it says to him. So you don't train that way. At a trial, and I've had Alistair eat my lunch about this. It's like, dude, he said, you don't do that at home, do you, in trial? I said, I don't know. I never really paid attention. This was a while back. And he goes, I guarantee you're doing it. And he says, don't do that at home when you're training. I'm like, okay, yes, sir. And now everything has a reason, and I see it not always in the moment, but then I go, oh, yeah, okay, I see what he's saying. So anyway, that was a great example of that. And this is training. Throw out all the exercise you're doing or whatever you're doing. If you don't get your stop, get that stop, period. Get that plank, period. Blow off what you're doing. If I have people that are very task oriented, I hate to give them a task because then they'll just focus on that task and not the training. And this is training. So does that make sense?
Yes. So it's really whatever you've asked for. That's what you're training.
Yes. Yes.
If anything else is just a byproduct of the training.
Yes. And hopefully there'll be some other videos. I can get into the more communication and how we're asking for things. We'll do some of that down the road here. But that was a great example. If anybody out there don't do that, because you're just telling the dog, I really didn't. If you don't want the stop, don't ask. If you aren't willing to enforce it, don't ask.
So then Liz asks on that, you, I think, sorry, blah, blah, blah. She asks, do you prefer the lie down to the stand all the time? And then the other part of the question is all the time. So wondering if it's situational.
Where the stand and the lie down?
Yeah, because I think she was looking at that and kind of being like, but the dog kind of stopped, hesitated.
Yeah.
She was maybe looking at that as a stand.
Yeah, not good enough. Like, I mean, I'm not opposed to a stand. I don't use stands on my dogs. They're lying down.
All the time.
Yeah, I want my dogs lying down. But there could be exceptions to everything, as you know. Like if a dog is like this dog needs to lie down. He has a lot of forward and presence. He's got to be on his belly, in my opinion. The stronger ones will cheat you. The more keen ones will cheat you. They'll cheat you on a stand. If you want a slow down, then blow a slow down. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I would answer that. I'm not saying that the stand is wrong. Stand can be very handy at hand, right? Heading, pin. If a dog's a really bad stopper there at hand, if he'll stand and do that better, yeah, do it. I would, yeah. I'm not opposed to that. Yeah, I get. Does that answer it? Like I said, there's no steadfast. It depends. A lot of stuff's dependent on the dog.
Right.
What you're dealing with. Yeah.
But you prefer a lie down. You use a lie down almost exclusively.
Yes.
Then,
yeah.
And even if I read her question wrong the first time and she wasn't looking at that as a stand,
let's roll that.
That hesitation wasn't enough, no matter either way.
Yeah, let's roll it again. Let me see there. Yeah, that's not a stand because there wasn't a total. The stand to me would be stop and stand there. That wasn't a stand either.
Okay, so whichever way she's asking the question.
Yeah, I mean that's how I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
any more questions on that deal?
No.
Let's go to this one real quick with Shelby. Get it queued up. Shelby sent in this little video and asked, I'll just read it. She said a little, hi Shelby, if you're out there. She asked, attaches a short video of for the webinar. This is an old video from first time getting into stock dogs. For first time getting into stock dogs. I started July 2023. This is my best dog, Dixie, and when she had her good days, she got in her groove and was super stylish and fun. But she was extremely sticky and was notorious for clapping down. Clapping down means lying down, just, whenever. It was hard to keep her on her feet. I'm thinking this was due to her getting stuck in her head or too brainy as I was told by my coach at the time. I'm not 100% I'm not 100% on her history previous to me, and she is now retired at 7 years old. She taught me a lot and was very good to me in trials. What is your take on sticky dogs, dogs that clap down? That's so we can roll the video. It's just a little, just kind of showing. We'll just watch it here real quick.
And as we're watching, she is on.
Okay.
She does some stuff so cool. See how she opens up so natural.
So first off, training sheep and the sheep were wrong. So a dog with eye, and that dog has some eye, obviously, wanting it to lie down and wants to control the sheep with the eye, in my opinion. You want more than two sheep. And I tell people this, if I have a dog with some eye, I want 5 at the minimum when I'm working them. That way they can't zero in or on one or two. They have to work the group. I would not, if I saw that this dog was sticky in the beginning, I'd have kept her on her feet all the time. Very rarely lying her down. And I'll bet you money, and I don't, but I bet you money that dog would pace very nicely and would be the kind that and you would have to almost encourage her to walk onto sheep and that kind of stuff. So I would be doing that stuff. I would be making it make it a little messy. 2 sheep is the wrong amount of sheep for a dog with eye. If you have a dog with no eye, you work lesser sheep, trying to encourage maybe a little more eye. So that would be my take on that. So if you do get another dog like this, Shelby, or start running, you keep them free. You keep them free. You keep them flanky free. If they want to be lying down and staring at sheep, keep them on their feet. Keep them out of the eye of the sheep. And I had my best dog to date had eye, and all I did was keep him free and keep him I call it being on offense. I always kept him on offense, not defense. Beyond that, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you there. So I was thinking that they were working too because they were maybe a bit fetchy, maybe knee knockers. If she had more, wouldn't that make them less moving, which would give your dog more reason to stop?
No, I would definitely have lighter sheep for this dog. You know what I mean? And this is, I think it's 4 years old here or something. So it's not a young dog. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
in my, like, I would have, I mean, like, you wouldn't want this dog that's no eye, that's excitable on flighty, runny sheep. You'd probably want these but 2 sheep for a dog with eye, they're going to look at more. They're going to stare. In my opinion, what I've dealt with dogs with eye. So you want sheep that are free moving and just walking about with that dog and shushing it to balance. And some of them, if they're clappy, they'll get to balance and lie down. I won't let them. It's like, nope, get up. And then when you go to a trial, you might have half a chance of the dog won't get clappy like that because you've let it go. But also in that same breath, they got to listen to you too, though, and take the flanks, because probably the dog will fight you on flanks too.
So Ashley Smith asks, would that be the same for keep on the feet if the dog wants to stop and hold them? So I'm assuming she's asking if, rather than clapping, the dog is just standing and holding. You get the same advice?
Yeah, I would keep it, I would get it engaged again. I have a couple videos that of a young dog I just got, who's 1.5 years, and he wants to kind of do that kind of stuff, like not lie down so much, but just stand there. I'm like, no, come on, let's go. Like I don't want, I'll tell him when to do that, not him.
So do you care about shape or anything, or just that they're moving?
I want him moving and then I'll shape it. I want them moving because their go-to is to, I got control of the sheep. I'm gonna lie down now. Or they, in their mind, they think so, you know?
Right.
And brainy, I don't know about the brainy. Uh, I wouldn't say it's brain. I'd say it's just that's who that dog is inherently. Um, it wants to, I don't know it enough and seen it enough to probably say more than that. Do you know what I mean? But but I do know things that have been effective for um, dogs. I've had a dog that kind of acted in that manner, would, you know, be like, oh, I'm just gonna lie down because I feel like I got him controlled here, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So any questions on that one?
Just Ashley's about whether the same thing if the dog was doing it on its feet.
Nothing from Shelby? Oh,
She said, thank you. That's very helpful.
okay, cool, good.
So then,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking if we're moving on from this, it kind of brings up the other question there because it's about the type of dog and what they're doing. Do you want that now or do you like it later?
Go ahead. Go for it.
So when we're talking about types of dogs and what you do, Trudy asks, for dogs that are anxious to post, excited to be sent, do you have any ideas for helping them relax and act more like they do at home when they are at the post of a trial?
Woo, that's a, yeah. Um,
So I threw that one in there because if we're talking about a dog that doesn't,
no,
maybe maybe the opposite, a dog that wants to move too much.
yeah, no, that's fine. It's good. Um, so one thing I would say, and I've noticed it with a dog of mine, that how much is she letting the dog watch runs before her? Um, maybe mess with that a little bit, whether you let him look or you know what I mean? Like bring him out to spot the sheep once and take him away. Don't let him sit there and salivate and get ramped up adrenaline wise. I would say that would be one thing to try, and she may have already tried it. I don't know. But when you get to the post, I have one. I have one right now that, man, she's hard to keep at my feet. Like she's like, I gotta go. I'm going. So I just keep switching sides with her. I go, you know, over here, stand, which means lie down to her. She was already partially trained. And I'll just switch her back and forth, you know, to kind of, no, we'll go when I tell you can go. Um, so I just kind of keep her, and that helps her to not want to take off on me like she wants to. But I don't, that probably really doesn't do anything for anxiety, but might get him just kind of listening and thinking a little bit before.
So you're almost not letting them think about the sheep. You're making them
Yeah,
think about you and maybe not at all about the sheep
yeah. And
or
then,
less.
yes, yeah, so to speak, and just like listening to me, you know, I want you over here. No, I want you over here. No, I want you over here. Just start listening right from the start, you know. And then um the biggest thing might be not letting him watch, you know, just not letting him be like, oh yeah, I can't wait. I'm like a runner in a start block, man. I'm going, you know. Bring him out, let him see one, take him away. If he's a good outrunner, you know it's not that important that he's going to run and look, depending on the dog. But it's just very calm in our energy. You know, they pick up on every little thing that we feel, everything. And that's been a hard one for me. I've really learned and I've had dogs with tension. A lot of my dogs have tension and whatever you want to call it, a fire in their belly, whatever you want to call it. And I, it's been very hard for me, and it's taught me a lot, is to be relaxed and communicate in the softest ways I can and get what I want. And um, yeah, that's not my person. I'm the kind of, you do it and you do it because I said. Well, that doesn't work for everything. And so and I know Trudy, so I can say I would say that's probably, but not uh not her deal. She's pretty quiet actually. So I would say, but inside, what's going on in there, I don't know. Right? You know, what kind of tension is she feeling and expectations? And a lot of people will say it out loud. Well, he always does this. So you're already pre-set up that he's probably going to do that, you know, run out like a fool and come to the top and bang the sheep and they're scattered like bowling pins. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough to know the answer to that all the way for me, in my opinion. So I don't think it was a lot of help, but the more you take them, the more they get seasoned too. I do know that.
Right. So the three takeaways are, if he gets anxious watching, don't let him watch. If
Yep.
if as you're going to the post, keep him thinking about you as much as he is about the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And miles.
Good miles. Yep. Yes. Yep.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. So where do we got now? Let's see this. We got Shelby. Let's see we'll watch this one of Jess real quick. Well, that one we'll just hit on real quick. Pull up the one of Jess. This one we did as a little promo too, like showing and this it's not the best video, but the dog's coming out of the side here.
Walk up,
He says walk up and watch where it's going.
lie down,
It's flanking.
come by,
It's flanking
by.
way to me there instead of
lie
walking.
down.
Walk up should be walk straight up on the sheep. So if that were me, I would have taken that dog's feet away and taken away anywhere but walking straight onto those sheep. And I wouldn't yell at her. It would just be lie down. If she got up to go right or left, lie down, walk up. If she got anywhere but straight on, lie down, walk up. Just keep taking it away. And if she's not walking up because of the sheep are looking at her, see, they're kind of a couple of them are looking at her. I would, and this is when you're starting to, this is, a younger training and a younger dog. If those sheep were not going to move, I would step with her and get those sheep some momentum walking away and let her think she did it and then keep her behind them and stand in that pressure. And there's exercises that you can do, but you got to come see me or whatever to see those exercises. I'm not going to, but so there's a lot of things that I'm not going into the specific exercises because I need to show you. I can't explain it here. But that one I kind of can tell you, but there's specific exercises that you can do to improve that. But you see that dog's like, no, I'm gonna flank, and then she flanks it the other way to try to correct it, and it overflanks the other way. So any questions on that?
So the question that just came up was from Caitlin. Do you have suggestions for a sticky, strong-eyed dog that freezes on a walk-up with heavier sheep? Just stick to lighter sheep until confident?
Yep.
Their question.
I would say keep it, don't put it on sheep that are like rolling boulders uphill. That's going to defeat that dog. Set it up, going back to what I said before, setting it up for success. Like teaching it like it's 10 foot tall and bulletproof, thinking the dog is 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and you just keep pushing sheep. And if they're heavy, you walk in there and make a move too and get her. But ideally, you want them on light sheep where she thinks, that's another. See, when we start out these and I can go on a lot of different tangents, but we don't teach them to drive on heavy sheep. That just defeats them. They don't even know what they're doing. And that will cause, like that dog the reason that the video is sliding out of there because it didn't have confidence to do it. Didn't understand how to drive. I know that's an older video, so that could have been the case. I don't know, but put her, put that young dog on. I don't know, is it an older or younger dog? I don't know, but um, and teach it that a walk up is. I'm not asking; it's a command, really. Like you need to walk up, and if it doesn't, give it a little correction. Like, hey, do you hear? Walk up, and and then if it's struggling, push the sheep. But you definitely don't want it to be pushing on heavy sheep as little as possible, a dog like that. So when it gets at a trial, it will probably have more success because the sheep have been moving off of it. And handling is a big deal too. If you put that, see, I don't know the whole, but if that dog's catching the eye and stopping the sheep, that's on the handler. You know, like those sheep are maybe they're going, I want to walk away, but you keep catching my eye. So I don't know what's happening in that scenario either. That's why people, when we're asked for some videos, send us some videos of something like that going on, and I can really see where the sheep heavy, where they light. You know what I mean? That's what's good about this is we wanted video. We got a few, but it would have been nicer to get some more. Maybe on the handling one, we can get a few more. Does that answer her question?
She says yes, thank you.
Cool. That's the last one on that one.
Yes. Well, so then if you're working on sheep that are light and moving, you're not talking running sheep then. You're just talking sheep that are responding to the dog and moving.
Yeah. Yeah, where it doesn't have to, yeah, where they're readily wanting to move away without a fight.
And you don't find with the strong-eyed dogs that would actually, you don't find that pulls them with the sheep,
Um,
or is that what you're after?
it just if it's not one to walk up, then it's not the boring kind of eye. The eye that wants to bore in.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a different story. But if it's one that's lying that won't walk up, you have to get that thing to understand it can move the sheep. And if it's not, you need to really get sheep that are going to move off that dog really nicely and easily.
So with that, when that starts to happen, do you expect those dogs to start following before they start working?
Following before.
So you have like you're trying to get that stronger eyed dog to move into sheep, and you're using lighter sheep that are moved.
Yeah. They're following more than pushing yet. Yes. Yeah.
And you're not gonna panic about that. You're just gonna give them time to learn to get a hold of them.
Yeah. And maybe the reason it's not walking, it doesn't understand driving yet. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it doesn't understand, maybe someone was too hard on it from behind. All these things, like yelling at it, and now it's like, oh God, I don't want to do it wrong. It's like when they should have been just letting that dog go and take him. Don't worry about if you're going in a straight line, just take those things away and drive and walk beside her and give her walk in that triangle I was talking about and give her confidence until she understands the 3 stages of training: resistance, acceptance, enjoyment. Get her to the enjoyment of the work and understanding what she's doing. I threw that little in there for a curve for you. The old RAE, Ray. But the goal is to get a dog to enjoy it and want to do it. Yeah. So
then Jody puts in there, so the more you keep a dog that doesn't want to walk in out of the flight, out of the fight, the more confident will become in the long run.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know if that dog, the one that woman asked the question, if it's catching the eye or not and totally working against itself, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's something I can't tell you. That's why I wanted videos, because I could see that in a video. You know what I mean? That problem. I'd be like, well, your dog just keeps shutting the door on the sheep. And they're going, well, we want to go, but you keep coming over here to my shoulder and shutting me down. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's probably what's going on with that dog, but I don't know because I don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of variables, right?
And I'm just a simpleton because I read into what they were saying as soon as they said it was a strong eye.
Yeah.
Dog didn't want to walk.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables and I'm still learning, about these variables. And that's why I love doing the clinics and stuff. I get to learn so much more than they do, even. I love it. As you know, you learn a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that good on that one or no more questions there,
I
Dave?
believe so. There's no more questions coming in. So
Um, Shelby, we did Shelby. Let's do Terry Mendocino, the first one.
Okay.
I heard you, Lorene. You're there. You aren't asleep.
But it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be. I did that
There
too.
we
Sorry.
Yeah. What?
Okay. It's
There's
just-
some kind of conversation going on there. Oh, stop it. Sorry. Stop it. Here's Terry. I got to read what she wrote when she sent in the video. Sorry. Terry says, I'm trying to get pace at a distance on a very forward dog. I have been working on this for years. Years? Well, we got to talk, Terry. I have been working on this for years. He was better in the video than he was earlier. Well, that's always a given, right? But that goes back to my saying we don't work these dogs long enough to get past their tension and excitability. Um, but anyways, I got sidetracked, sorry. But you can tell he is still trying to speed up at it. But you can tell he is still trying to speed up at a trial. He is close to out of control. He gets in his head and not with me. Okay. So this is the first. She sends another one. We'll look at that in a second. This is on a place that the dog kind of knows, and the sheep, I believe, was the gist. So she's working on pace. Um, so here comes this dog. See that, right? See it got in the bubble right there. And those sheep start running. She was too late to steady it. And now if I'm working on pace, uh, I'm going to use the same methods as for a correction. I'll ask for the steady. If I don't get it, depending on the dog, this is a little bit dog dependent for me anyways. Um, if it's a very forward dog that has no feel for the bubble, I would ask for the steady uh, with the whistle, whatever, either way, whistle, whatever. And let me clarify one thing too right away here is steady for me. When I tell a dog steady, if I'm doing a walkabout, there's an example of me with one of my dogs, but if I'm walking about and that dog swings over, come by to balance, gets to the balance point, I say steady when I'm teaching it because it's on balance. It knows, okay, I don't even have to tell it. Hopefully, if I have to, that's a whole different. But anyway, I'll say steady, and steady to me means two things: apply pressure where I ask with pace. And a lot of people use two different commands for that thing. And to me, that's just more communication that has to happen instead of keeping it as simple. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Uh, keep it as simple as possible so I can communicate with my dog quickly and effectively. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about in my mind last night when I woke up at midnight. That kind of thing. But so back to, if it's a dog with a lot of forward and no feel for the bubble, I would ask for the steady. If it didn't steady, didn't hitch up, didn't slow down, if it was a forward dog, I would give it the correction. Do you hear? If nothing happened, and I'd take its feet away, and I would start again, and I would, until that dog started getting up and holding that, I would take its feet away again. Now a dog that has some nice pace and has a, feel for the bubble, I would leave it on its feet and just the correction only. Do you hear? And keep it on its feet. Does that make sense?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that with that dog that doesn't have the feel, you're gonna break it down even more.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I guess I would break it down more, but not argue with him more. Like, steady, steady, knock it off. What do you do? Just fairness. To me, being fair, I just take his feet away. That's not the answer, dude. You need
Right.
to, yeah.
Yeah, so you're breaking it down. You're not just giving him a chance to try the steady because he's
Yeah.
not understanding the steady. You're breaking it down, saying, well,
Yeah.
steady is to actually back off.
Yeah,
Stop
a
and back
little
him
more.
off, and
Yeah. And like I said, I'll ask for the steady and then I'll give the correction. Do you hear? If he gives me the steady there, then I'll let him go. But if he continues on, it's his feet are gone. Take his feet. And that's why lie downs are so important. Some dogs, we can't fix things unless we can stop them. And it's used, yeah, anyway, I go on. So anyway, like this keep going with the video. There's some other things that were happening here but did you see, like here? So so she asked for a lie down and that whistle, keep going. That's pretty nice right there. But but so she was a little late there. Did you see? You should have asked a little, like, and that's what, like you said earlier, it's a matter of a second. I said, yes, it is. It's a matter of 2 steps, 1 step. But I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what her whistles are, but I was watching some of these and she would blow a steady, what I thought was a steady, and the dog would lie down. And then she would blow the steady and it would steady. But I don't know, like, right, see that? Dog just lied down.
and you don't assume that that's a result of where she said she's been working on this for years. Sure,
Yeah, I don't, yeah,
but that it's expecting to be lied down because she's been working on that so much and having to stop them.
yeah, I don't know. That could be very well. Yeah. But she was asking, it was like I didn't know what her whistles meant. So that might be her lie down. And then see, he steadied there. No, and then she made him lie down. So I'm confused. Now, my point is, if I'm confused, what do you think the dog is?
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it has to be clear. And this dog is really doing a fairly good job of this. I mean, she's watching him too much and not her sheep at times. That's why they're getting going faster when, like you said, it's a matter of 2 steps that she's missed the chance to keep those sheep walking.
So this might be too much to go back, but there was, right at the very first, you were talking about the timing there. There was a point where the dog was walking and the sheep acknowledged. And then there was probably 4 or 5 steps, and then the sheep started to to bunch.
Yeah.
And you were saying, oh, right there, she should have stopped her. Should she have stopped her when they started to bunch a little bit, or when the sheep acknowledged?
I'd have to see where you're talking about.
Okay, it's
Was
probably,
it right in the beginning?
yeah, it was as they first started to go across the
Okay,
buildings.
go ahead and run it. Let's see. Right there.
It'll be just up as she comes across here. So she backed them off, and then here the sheep will acknowledge as she's coming forward. There, the sheep acknowledged it,
Right.
and now they're
Yeah.
starting to bunch.
Yep. Now
Which-
right there, she missed it. See that?
Yeah, but when that sheep acknowledged and then they started to bunch, would you want her to be catching it there, or
Right. You see when their cadence started to slow down, and
yeah,
then she pushed on, which was fine, not hard, but a little probably too hard. And then they started to pick up that speed, and then that's the thing with driving and pace, you have to the thought just left my mind, darn it.
so where I was asking, are you wanting them to time it when the sheep acknowledges that's when that dog should be starting to back off, or are you okay with them still starting to wait until they bunched? And actually, if we broke it down to 3, they bunched a little bit and then they bunched more just before they left.
Yeah, I would say all I'm watching is the cadence of the sheep.
Okay,
That's what I'm watching. And
so then
but
as they
because
start,
because I know my dog's is under control, and I know I can get what I want when I want it, I am more free to watch them. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And her dog's not making a mess of this at all, in my opinion. It's a little fast in places. I'm talking getting it down to, like those sheep just keep that pace, and that's difficult to do. It really is. You know what I mean? Especially on light sheep, you know? But yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. She was missing. Actually, there was one point, I don't know if it's in this one, but they were slowing down, and then she wasn't having it come on a little more. Do you know what I mean?
right,
Like they were getting ready to stop. Then you need that's what was in my mind. There's following and pushing, right?
yes,
And most people don't teach their dog to follow. They don't. That's when the sheep start getting speed and they just come on, and that's when they got to slow down and follow. I guess is my point of that. But then when the sheep are going to get heavy somewhere, that's when you got to let them go and push on. And that's when you become offensive, not defensive. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yep. But I wish if Terry was on, I'm not sure what her lie down and what her steady is by watching this. And to me, if I'm having trouble with that, then the dog's not understanding either, I guess is my point of that. But let's run the other one. This one she says, this is, I don't know his name, Ivy, again, at a small farm he has never been to. He has never seen these sheep before. As you can see, he is much faster at trying to get to the sheep, not as much self-control and more resistance to the lie down. I'm only about 100 yards away from him. It's tough for me and him. So I guess she must be out or lie down. That's where I'm confused on. That was a lie down. Or was it? See what I mean? Everything sounds the same there,
Right.
except for the flank. And here and this is just for Terry herself. Just listen to the way she's speaking to the dog. Come by, like, you know what I mean? Just ask. That's better. But didn't get a lie down there. See? Still on his feet. So if you're practicing, she should be practicing this with whistles. So here he comes. See that? Oh, he poked him right there. He asked for a lie down, didn't get it. Now she got a lie down. Closing the gap, closing the gap. Closing there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Just steady though. Closing the gap, closing the gap, closing it. She's getting away with it right now. She's right on the edge of that bubble. Now she went in it. And she got forgiven quickly. But see, I don't know what is that a stop or is it steady? That's where I'm confused on what she's asking for there. Yeah, that's, I guess, did she chime in at all?
I didn't see her on the list of the participants right now, so.
Okay, so she did, okay. But yeah,
So really what you're seeing here is it almost matches what Trudy's
yeah,
question, and your response to that, where what's she doing different? Well, her tones and stuff are different in that other video versus this video, and this is the video that she's not as happy with.
yeah, yeah, she's getting on him a little more, but I'm just being a little bit nitpicky about that, how we speak to them, like it, and that's, I don't really have an example of flanks and stuff, but of how to, like, people will want a soft little flank and they'll go, uh, a soft little come by and they'll go, come by. It's like, does that say soft to you in any manner? No. To me, it's like, come by, like, go, let's go fast and let's go hard. So they will, I mean, I played with this a lot, so I know. If I want a soft little flank, I just give it come by. Or for me, I just say come. If I want a soft little half flank, I just say come, not come by and expect it to be soft and half. Walk up is a great example. I had someone here once and they were like, my dog gets up so fast from the walk up. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, okay, lie it down, tell it to walk up. And she's like, walk up. I'm like, well, what? You just told it to get up hard. Why don't you try it? Walk up. That dog got up like this, just so beautiful, like a soldier. I said, that's communication. That's how you communicate, not in the same tone as everything. It has to be different. Same with our whistles. If you want a little soft come by, you just give that little. Does that make sense? It's so critical, and so many people don't pay attention to it. And I, including me, I work
Those. I
constantly,
forgot to-
constantly. I work on it all the time. So that for me, she just needs to fine tune how she's communicating with her dog, in my opinion. He was not being a jerk, he was being pretty good. But she needs to read her sheep better, watch her sheep more, and be clear in what she's asking the dog to do.
And she's holding him. When would you let her have, or when would you be wanting her to let her dog kind of keep up when he starts to steady?
I'd want a lot of those situations there were following situations, in my opinion. Then I would put, there's another exercise for it, but then I would put him in the pressure, driving away from it, and teach him how to push.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess what I was seeing is she was holding him in that stop until your sheep almost stopped, and then asked it almost for a relift. When would you start asking her to keep, like you were talking earlier about, keeping them following?
Yeah, my goal would be to, with a dog that's strong, that I'm taking its feet away and letting it get up on its own. I would start going away from the lie down and transitioning to the steady.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I want them on their feet, really. I don't want to be, but some dogs you're going to have to run. Some you can run more ongoing, some you can't. Some you got to run more stop and go. Sometimes on certain sheep, you got to run that same dog stop and go that you would run flow and go on other sheep. I mean, it's adapting to what the sheep are giving you too, I guess. You know, that's just getting a little more, sorry, getting more down in, yeah, other stuff. But yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's go to, we're kind of, oh, we're running down on time here. Sorry. Is that a big deal?
The boss hasn't said anything yet, so.
Let's just go to, no, we could do, we'll just show a little of the Pippa one. Lorraine, and then we'll pop to the couple of those quick ones on my dog. I think this is a little bit more what we were kind of talking about, but I can't remember exactly. I looked at a few of them. See this? So this for me is too fast in training. Because what happens when we go to a trial, everything's too fast.
No, lie down.
He's working on whistles, like the video said, but but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because we aren't working on something. You know what I mean? Like you don't throw the stop away ever. Ask for it. Does that make sense? Like when we're training, we make it like consistent with everything we're asking as best we can.
So if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is she's throwing away her pace because
Yeah.
she's working on her whistles.
Yes. And it's a common thing, right? We get fixed. I could just say from watching a top handler like Alistair train dogs, and I'll watch, you know, he comes out here and spends summers, has in the past, and I'll watch him train a dog. Well, when his dogs, and I almost without fail, never get away with something that he's asked them to do. Like never. And so you go to a trial and you watch that guy run a dog or top handler, Scott, whatever. When they ask for something, they get it. And there's not a lot of yelling, but it's because they are so consistent. There's no question. And you'll very rarely hear like Alistair bark at his dog at the trial. Here's a real one that'll just chop you off at the legs. It's just a quick story. Sorry, Lorene, but
Good.
we're having fun. But I ran my dog in Colorado, my pro novice dog. He won the trial. He ran okay, but I was barking at him, carrying on. And I sent the video to Alistair and he says, he goes, he goes, he goes, you won the trial. I understand that, but go back and look at that video. And I went back and I was a lot of yelling. And he said, that is very unprofessional. It doesn't look like your dog's trained. And I was like, oh man, it just hit me. This was a couple of years ago. It hit me right here. I just went, he's dead right. And like, but it was good. I needed to hear this. I'm always learning, dude. If you ain't learning, you're going backwards, in my opinion. You've got to, like, I want to learn. I'm so thirsty for knowledge. That'll never change, I hope. If it does, I'm not probably going to be doing this. But anyway, back to this. I would say exactly what you said, Dave. If you're training, even if you're training those whistles, what if you just let that dog get away with 20 no lie downs? What are you really teaching it? And you're exactly right. you're teaching it that it doesn't have to.
So then we're not here to hear my ideas on training,
Yeah.
but how's that? For me, I know this dog and it's a young dog.
Yeah.
I personally probably wouldn't have been teaching this dog to pace so I could rate it.
Yeah.
And so if I hadn't, if she was at that where she wasn't really worried about pace yet, and I guess this brings in two questions. Would you worry about the speed that the sheep were moving then if she wasn't worrying about the pace? Or would you worry about your pace right off the bat?
So good question. Good question. Here's what I got to say about that. I didn't know whether she was young or old, to be honest, but now I do. But knowing that, what I would do is I wouldn't grind her about pace. I would simply lie her down. And when she got upright, sheep had distance, and she got up and she started walking, I'd let her go. Wouldn't fight with her, wouldn't grind on her. I just simply take her feet away for right now. But there's people that would let the dog go and all the time would, steady, steady, steady. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like instead of like, I don't mind them moving a bit when they're young, but not running, never. I don't care. That running is not acceptable to me treating livestock. Period. Now puppies, little different story. That's different. But a year and a half old dog, there's no reason you can't just take its feet away and teach it how to treat the sheep. You're not fighting with it. You're just saying, not what I'm looking for. That's how I would be. That's how I would be. Now, if that dog's going to cover, get over there and cover. But as soon as it gets to cover, I would ask it for steady. If it didn't, I just lie down. No big deal. No fighting.
So then you're looking to be able to pace your dog so you can rate them right from the start, then really is what I'm getting from that.
I'm looking to teach them how to treat the sheep correctly. Yeah, I guess is what I would say. The more we let them get away with that kind of stuff, there's a saying Alistair always says, and I forget it, but once is a habit, twice is something, and three times is a lifestyle. And you let dogs get away with stuff too much, you have a harder time of fixing that later. But also there's a difference. I don't know how to explain it, but letting that dog come onto its sheep and grinding it. Does that make sense? Like, slow down, slow down, slow down. There's a difference in just lying it down and it gets up correctly and is thinking. There's no soon enough that a dog can think, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
So then what about the dogs? Did a trial a while ago, and the dogs were moving better for the pro-nav dogs than the open dogs. And my personal feeling was people had been grinding on their dogs trying to get them to pace and rate so much in the open that they'd actually taken away their ability to do that, where they hadn't done that as much with the pro-novice dogs. Do you subscribe to that or not really? Then it's always appropriate pro-novice, open, and you'd expect the same out of either of them.
Yes.
If that makes sense what I'm trying to ask.
But you're probably not going to get it as much in a younger dog, right? I mean, that's the goal. So the goal for me is when I'm training at home is to have my sheep walk, and they can trot a tiny bit, but everything speeds up in a trial, as you know. If you get 80% of what you want on the trial field, you're doing pretty good. So at home, I'm trying to get 100% of what I want. Because they get their excitement, all that. And then you're like, you better have a dog that's listening for you. Or you're just going out there and running sheep around for your 20 score. Right?
Right.
That's my opinion. But I'm looking to win dog trials. That, that's I guess that's important to know too. But I don't think there's ever a wrong time to teach a dog how to treat the sheep, in my opinion.
Right.
They're going to do things when they're young. And, I'm not going to crucify them about it. I'm just going to train them and try to be fair. Yeah. So does that answer that kind of? Good?
Yeah. And Jody makes a comment. So you have to have gears on your dogs that match the sheep.
Yes. I mean, I want gears, and especially some dogs that want to be slow. You better have a speed up gear too. Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of where my question was coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
We see
yeah.
lots of times that people are always gearing down, gearing down, gearing
Yeah,
down.
yeah. Okay.
They
Now it makes,
don't know
I
how to
didn't
use it.
understand totally what I should have asked you to say it again. But yes, yes. You got to have gears. Some of them, no. If they're hard charger forward sons of guns, there's one gear. It's called walking like a soldier. Those kind that can move sheep from 100 yards. They better be listening and they better be walking. Another dog that's not as strong, different animal, different story. That's how I look at it. Yeah. They all can't be put through the same mold.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, sorry,
No,
I'm
go ahead.
harping on this and I don't mean to.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jody, for helping me get that worded correct.
Yeah, I didn't quite, sorry. I didn't understand you quite all the way, but go ahead.
So then people are worried about pacing their dogs down to rate their sheep. If you have sheep that they need to pace harder, what do you use to help them with that?
You mean if they're lighter?
If they're duller, if your sheep are dull and the dog has to be stronger, where you talk that you like sheep that are always moving, how do you get the dog to gear up when it's and be appropriate if you don't want your sheep to run?
Handling. When I know those sheep are going to get heavy somewhere, like say on a trial course where the draw is, I let my dog go. Does that make sense? Like I start blowing walk-ups instead of steadies. Like if you come around the post and you're driving away to the left and the draw is on the left, I'll get over there on that hip and I'll start blowing walk-ups and not let them get stuck. And I'll throw away some of my line to keep flow.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
That kind of, yeah. Okay.
But where I was kind of going was back with Liz's question about the type of sheep, where you're saying you want sheep that are free moving.
Yeah, for training, especially flanks.
But if you don't want your sheep to run and you have sheep that are free moving, how do you teach your dog to gear up? Is kind of, and at your trial there where you're telling him just to walk up, I guess that's part of that. But
yes. Yeah, I handle, like I break the trial field down everywhere where I know they're getting heavy and where they're light and where they need to follow. I already know because I watched runs and I'm like, oh, I see. I better let my dog push right there before they even get the idea that they can be. That's what I call handling offensively.
okay.
Yeah. And I mean, we could go down that. Yeah.
Well,
We'll do more of that in the handling one.
Yeah, perfect. I guess I was just trying to put things together where you're saying earlier you never want your sheep to run, but if you teach gears, that's what. But shut up, Dave. Let's move on.
Yeah. What that was the last. I just did a little on that Pippa one. I don't know if I actually got what I wanted said about that. Sorry. But we got enough out of that. Let's put up Jim. The first Jim. Sorry, we're running a little late, folks.
The corrections one or the other one?
The other one first. We'll just look at that one real quick. This one's just when I'm starting to show a dog teaching it what I want with the steady. I guess I'm filming and walking and doing this myself. So
Steady.
people,
So
this dog's pretty young.
I'm gonna,
I just only had him
it's
about
like
a
a
month.
lie down. You don't want to ask for a lie down
These are light sheep, as you
when
can
you're
see.
teaching a dog a lie down. Steady. See how I
He was
asked for that
just
steady
thinking
when
of
he was
turning
on
there
balance?
on those sheep. I
Same
just
as
asked
with a
him to
lie down.
steady.
You don't ask unless they're unbalanced and they're balancing sheep to you. Walk.
See how he's standing there
here.
staring?
Bringing me sheep nice and straight.
And that goes back to the other question. That's
Yeah.
your handling. That's where you teach.
That's
See
where
how
I
that
got it.
foot right
No,
there.
there he
He's walking
thought
up, there it
about
is.
stopping there. That's good. He kept coming. But right here,
Little walk
the draw
around.
is behind him
Dead.
right now. To my
Covered the
barn.
draw was just behind him. Steady.
But see how he steadies really
Little
nicely?
walk up.
That's in him.
Steady.
So I know that possibly he could be one that wants to not go as fast as I want him to go sometimes. So I'll start
Steady.
not letting him.
Is on balance there.
Nice. He has some natural ability, and it's for me to keep that and work with it and enhance and see where he could possibly have problems and not ever let it think he has a problem, I guess, you know? So, but see, steady means come in where I asked with pace. It's one word.
Right.
Yeah. So that just one little thing I wanted to show. And then the other one is just a correction, how I
So,
correct. Go ahead.
so that was an example you saw in there where we were talking about, where you're talking handling.
Yes.
You could see how you were teaching your gear up there.
Yes.
But Sarah also, she was asking, are you working against pressure during at-home training to teach the dog to push? Again, kind of the same thing you could see.
The pressure. Did you say? I'm sorry. Say that.
So I think that kind of goes back into what we were saying, where you were talking handling to teach them to gear up. And Sarah asks, are you working against pressure during at-home training to teach your dog to push?
Yes,
So,
I will. Not yet, though, with him. Although I will, like those sheep, I'll let them start heading to the barn, and they'll start going, "Ooh, he's letting us go." They'll start getting a little faster, and then I'll just send them. Not very far right now, and he has to go catch them and bring them from the barn, which is pressure. And I'll start doing that. That's in a fetching position. I'll start there first, and then I'll driving when he's not driving hardly at all yet. I've only had him a month, and he had hardly nothing on him. So I'm starting with a 1.5 year old dog with not much, which is fine. I don't care. I'd rather him have not much, so I can put it in. But I will when he understands driving first, following more than anything. Then I'll start to ask him to drive against pressure, away from it. Does that make sense?
I believe so, yes.
So, no other questions on that?
I just asked her if that answered what she was asking,
Okay.
but I think it was.
We can go back to it too if she has one. Let's do the other correction one.
She says all set.
Is she? Okay, good. Thanks for the questions, people, by the way. And thank you, Dave and Lorene, for doing this. Appreciate it.
I don't know what other correction one.
The correction, that was just, there's another short one where I correct him on a lie down. Jim. It was like a real short
Lie
one.
down.
There it is. He lied down good there.
Lie down. Do you hear? Lie
He
down.
didn't there. See that? It was just, do you hear? Lie down again.
So I'll tell them, correct them, tell them again, but not yell the command.
Is that just a little, I just did a little example of how I would, the first lie down was what I want to see. boom, down. And when I was looking at this dog, what sold me a lot on him was that he lied down quick and he didn't disturb his sheep. I like that. Like you ask and boom, and it's like they don't give that extra poke. He did a little there, so I corrected him. So, any questions on that?
Looks like we're clear on that one.
Um, and then I just wanted to show, I just wanted to show you guys. Any questions at all from anybody? If so, just ask. I just wanted to show this is me when I first started with my first dog. And I just want people to see that we all start somewhere and we don't know until we know, we don't know what we don't know. And this is a freaking journey. And it's like the best journey I've ever been on in my life. And I've been on some cool like journeys, surfing and traveling and all those kinds of things. But this journey pushes me out of my comfort zone. It pushes me to be better. Because there's one thing, and people know that have come to work with me. I don't like when people blame their dogs when it's our fault. That's unacceptable to me. It bothers me. Because these animals are incredible. All of them. Dogs in general are incredible, not just border collies. They're just, I don't know. I've always had a connection with dogs. I'm going to play this. This is my first border collie Scoop, the one I went to the national finals with. I think he might have been about a year old. Can you guys see that?
Here, look, there you got it.
Wait, darn it. You got to turn it sideways. Oh, don't not cooperate now.
So poorly timed dad joke. I wanted to tell you, I've been a surf, but I've never been surfing.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Jody, or not Jody, Lorene.
Yeah.
Can you put it on just me on the screen this time?
You are.
No, I see. Oh,
We're all three there.
okay, hold on. I got to do this. I'm sorry, you guys bear with me for 1 second.
So Lorene, what he was asking is if you can make us smaller so that he has the whole screen.
Yeah, so that they can see this better. Because when we did it before, Lorene, I was just on the screen.
I don't know how to do that.
You don't know how to do that?
Because you're already pinned.
All right. Can you see that, everybody?
Yes.
This is my first dog, my first trainer, really. And he was a good dog. I probably didn't even deserve him at the time, but I mean, these sheep were so dead, so broke. And this dog, I'm telling him to slow down. Can you see that?
Yep.
We're like boulders in a pasture. There's me with my flag. Oh, God, help me. I just wanted to show people that we all started somewhere, man. Like, and this dog made it to the double lift. Sure wouldn't look like it. Looking at him now, I got it like, God, it's embarrassing, but I'm okay with that because I started somewhere. And I'm still gonna learn, and I'm still gonna, dig deep and try to communicate and make the dog feel like it's their idea as best I can, not my ideas. See, look at that one's just like, yeah, whatever, we're gonna be. And you love the way the sheep set themselves back on the hay. You can do how it runs all day long by yourself. Anyways, I just thought that was funny. I just wanted to share that with people because uh I I that's where I was, and that was after probably a year or two. So, you know, everybody's got a journey. It's not a race.
Mm.
Any questions from anybody? And we all good?
Okay.
Get your videos in, like hand for the handling one. You know, short, you know, stuff of trialing or something, and give us something to talk about and look at. I don't want to have to get my own. You guys, you know, make it happen. And thank you, Lorene and Dave, for doing this. Good job. You did a great job, Dave. Loved it.
Oh,
And
well, thank you for coming. We really appreciate you being willing to do this, and you spend a lot of time with us answering questions and talking about things and
cool.
and opening yourself up. I had my first videos that I had like that. I made sure to erase them because I was so embarrassed.
No, we want to see those. Come on.
They're gone. And one of them was the only video I ever had of that dog working. So
You burned them, didn't you?
it's gone forever because my ego got in there.
Don't let it. Don't let it. Dude.
But thank you so much for
You're
doing this.
welcome.
We have another one coming up. What date is that one? The one?
I don't know. Sorry.
Okay. So you can find out on the OSDS
Yes.
website. It'll be up there, and the link to be able to join. So feel free to go there. Again, to find Bryan, it's Bryan White with a Y,
Yeah,
not with an I.
that's it.
He's hard to find with an I on the internet.
That's funny.
And Facebook,
Messenger.
Facebook Messenger is the best way to get a hold of them.
Yep. And get some videos and so that we can, you know, break them down and look at them. That'd be cool. And because we're going to work on more, we're going to talk about more of the handling stuff then. That'll be cool. Yeah.
Very good. We've had some people thanking you for, well, one, Caitlin, for makes her feel better. Her first stock dog. Sarah, it's all good here. Thank you. Alicia, thank you guys. Ashley had one back there. Thank you. So very good.
Cool. Right on. I'm glad to do it. It's fun. I love, as people that know me know, I love talking about dogs. I could do it all night long.
So February 7th is the date that Sarah says that we're up again.
Okay, cool.
Jody,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw her under the bus.
Yeah.
She says, tell him to give out his email.
So, yeah, my email is Bryan Scoop, BryanScoop @gmail.com. Yeah. Thanks, Jody.
And Liz is tuning into your surfer. Thanks, dude.
Right on. It was fun. Thanks you guys for doing this, and good job, both of you. It was fun.
All right. Well, thank you. And I really enjoyed it. Hope everybody else enjoyed it as much as I did. On that, we've taken up a lot of your time. Let's wrap it up on that for tonight.
All right. Good night, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. All right. See you guys.
See you on the next one.
All right, buddy. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.